Hey yo guys, time for another edition of In the Squared Circle, or excuse me, Pillar to Post with the Dirty White Boy. Um, just gonna recap some of the major bits and pieces of news that are just spattered around the last couple weeks. The two major stories involve World Wrestling Entertainment. The first being that the CW has decided to not renew the contract with SmackDown, to put SmackDown on the CW network, and SmackDown's been on that network for a long time, dating back to when it first was on there in 1999, when the CW was known as UPN. Originally it was thought that the WWE did not want to go with the flow on the CW, but it was turned out to be the CW because they really didn't feel that SmackDown was helping attract their main viewers, which are the young teenage females. When you look at some of the programs on there, I guess you can see why it makes sense. So, I mean, it's just kind of sad in a way, I guess, because, I mean, in the States, it's been on that network for a very long time. I mean, I know I watched it on there for a long time because I have satellite and I get UPN, or got UPN and tons of CWs now, so I know a lot of SmackDown's available to more markets. So that kind of sucks, and the two possibilities are it being on Fox, My Network TV, which I've never heard of until this bringing up, and any other NBC Universal owned thing, which I think would be the best for them to put it on. I'd say put it on USA because it didn't keep your product on networks that are related to each other, and you can do stuff there, and you don't have to search and hunt on like My Network TV or Fox or something. Fox would be another good choice in my opinion because I think Fox is, you know, a network that likes to bend the rules a little bit. I mean, I remember their show Temptation Love or something like that. They host Mad TVs, etc., etc. So I think that'd be a good choice for them to do that. And, you know, that just sucks that SmackDown's no longer on the CW. And the other story from WWE was the fact that they severed their ties with Ohio Wrestling, which really wasn't a shocker because they were talking about doing that for a while. But, I mean, when you look at the track record with Ohio Valley Wrestling, the guys they produced the likes of Cena, Batista, Orton, three guys that are huge in your company. I mean, they produced many other great wrestlers too. So, I mean, that kind of sucks. And they're moving all their talent to Florida Championship Wrestling, which, you know, they have a bit of control over because Steve Kern, who is an agent and works with the WWE, that is his promotion in Florida, the Florida Championship Wrestling. So, you know, I personally feel that I don't like just having one developmental. You should have more than one for sure. You definitely should have at least 3 or 4. I mean, you should have them all over the world because just bring all your talent to Florida. They only know how to work one style now and only adapt to one type of crowd. They have a TV deal. They just do a bunch of spot shows and stuff too. They're getting a TV deal, I believe, like late at night. But anyway, back to my point. They should still keep OVW. I mean, granted, they didn't have 100% control, and you know WWE, they hate not having 100% control. I think you should have one in Canada because, you know, you should get your talent used to working in Canada, like in Toronto mainly, because that's when your markets in Canada, and you know, they get the young talent like already to the bizarro world type fans we have in this great country of Canada. I'd have one in the Midwest or the mid of the states, something like St. Louis or something along those lines, just because, you know, that has great wrestling history, and you know, another great, get some fans their talent used to that. I would have probably had the Florida Championship Wrestling because, you know, it's a great place for the talent to go relocate and stuff, and that's one of the main reasons they're also moving there too. But, you know, Florida, it's great to adapt there too, and, you know, just to adapt to the different lifestyle there. And then I don't know where else I would have had my other one. Probably New York, just because, you know, how close they are related back to New York in the old days. So yeah, so, you know, that's a bit of a saddening thing too as well, that OVW's gone the track record, and, you know, it sucks. Moving to the world of TNA, they announced that they're bringing back the X Cup. Now, that is one of my favorite things that TNA used to do back in the day. If you remember the X Cup, it was, you'd have 4 countries. They mainly had 4. They had the United States of America, Canada, Mexico, and Japan. And it looks like it'll be those countries again. So obviously we'll probably may see a reformation of Team Canada. Who knows? Most of the guys are still in the company. I love this concept. I mean, you'd have singles matches for points, and then a battle royal to maybe get the main as many points as you can. I just thought it was great. It would be a great influx of talent, and then you can use your working relationships well, because obviously Japan will be New Japan, who you go over there all the time. Now you get to bring them over there now. I mean, you've only brought really Tiger Mask over from New Japan over to TNA. Now then you can bring. You brought Tanahashi over too, but now it's official your relationships. Now you can bring your Tanahashis, your Nakamura's. Tiger Mask will obviously be a member of that team, and then you get to use your AAA thing, because I've been waiting for them to influx the guys from Mexico in AAA, like Mr. Aguila and so many other great guys in that company. So Octagon, I believe that's his name. Yeah, well, he's another great guy. So I just like that. And once again did a stupid thing that upset me. They sent a press release offering Bobby Knight a job, and they just wanted him to be the first head coach in pro wrestling. And Jeff Jarrett said that pro wrestling is a lighter schedule than college basketball, and wow, that's just a laugh. I mean, you're nonstop like pretty much every day of the year except for certain days. And tonight, as you'll see on Impact, there is a association with NASCAR, and it's a triple threat: Jimmy Rave, Homicide, and I can't remember the other wrestler, but they're all managed by NASCAR drivers: Juan Pablo Montoya, Jimmy Spencer, and so many others. So I just find it stupid that they won't learn from their lessons. Just before we get out of here, there's two things. Georgia's trying to pass a bill to regulate pro wrestling. I guess trying to keep the state out of getting the gate and percentage and stuff like that, which has been a big thing in the past, and that's the reason why Vince said that wrestling was fake, so that the state couldn't get any money from it. So he could just get the major influence. So one of the most genius moves in all of wrestling history, if you think about it. But anyways, moving on along with this. There was just an interesting hearing where Bill Burns wrote a big thing where he felt that the bill was bad because he said that pro wrestling is not really legit sport. I mean, he said that no one gets injured pretty much, which is a load of crap. I mean, you look at the likes of Dorado from Chikara, who almost died on a high spot in November the 18th, in a show I have still watched, but I heard about the incident. I mean, that is just saddening. I mean, the people have died in the ring too in the last year or so, or almost died. So, I mean, that guy just needs to get his head out of his ass. I mean, he just compared it to boxing and MMA and the fact that their fights are real and so on. Like, dude, grow up and get a life. I hope they do regulate in Georgia, but still. And moving on to the final story, a sad note for all you ROH fans in Canada. ROH has pulled their pay-per-views in Canada because they really didn't get any buys. I mean, their last one, or I believe maybe in total, I think just for Man Up, they only got 36 buys. Which is a tragedy, and I bought it, I know Isba bought it, and I bought pretty much all the pay-per-views except for Driven. I didn't buy that one. So yeah, I mean, Isba bought one, and probably many others bought the pay-per-views in Canada, and I mean, it could be worse, but then again, I mean, they really didn't get it marketed, and they have this relation with the Fight Network. There were no commercials on the Fight Network, but there were pay-per-views. There was only one time I remember them even mentioning it, and it was on Fight Network Radio. A lot of people will listen to Fight Network Radio. Should have done it on the television, I think, because television's a bigger medium. I mean, with Larry Sweeney was plugging on the Fight Network Radio. I really wish they would have done a better job plugging on the Fight Network. I just don't know why they did. And I mean, TNA, they had, with 8 hours in their first run prime times per month, is only doing a few hundred buys in Canada. I mean, the main people who buy pay-per-views are buying UFC pay-per-views or WWE pay-per-views. Or porn. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, they should have done a lot better job marketing. 36 is a tragedy. Like, you can't now in Canada really talk trash about TNA. We just can't because only 36 people bought it. So that's like Lance Storm, me, Isba, and Original G-Force. So I mean, I can probably tell you most of the people who bought the pay-per-view, which is just sad. But anyways, that's it for me. That's another edition of Pillar to Post. I will be back on Saturday or Friday to hit you with my predictions for WWE's No Way Out pay-per-view, which is setting up to be a nice little pay-per-view. Iffy about the double chambers, but I know why they're doing it, and it should be okay. But anyways, that's it for me. I'm out. Peace.